Story 1. I had severe acne growing up, and no medication or hygiene product seemed to help. My self-confidence was low, and I felt unattractive. However, I experienced a significant improvement over time and feel much better now. Story 2. Growing up, my clothes never fit right. With a large family just trying to get by, hand-me-downs were the norm. Unfortunately, I was taller than all my older siblings, so my pants were always too short. Story 3. Having ginger hair, I was often called out by complete strangers, not just in school but anywhere I went. I still recall walking around the supermarket with my family, and these kids I didn't know would follow me, shouting and throwing things before running away. It took me 30 years to accept that my hair color was acceptable, but I still do nothing with my hair other than brush it or style it in a ponytail for work. I don't like anyone touching my hair, so I never go to the hairdressers. Story 4. Wearing glasses. Back in the 1980s, I had to wear large, thick glasses because that was all that was available at the time. They took up half my face and were so heavy that they pressed down on my nose. I had been wearing glasses since the age of 2, and most of the kids in my grade didn't get their first pair until after they had been in school for a while and had the eye test in 3rd grade. For a long time, I was the only kid in class with glasses. The classic 4 eyes insult was common, along with terms like nerd and Helen, after Helen Keller. I once had a teacher call on me in class and refer to me as goggles, which was really insulting, and all the kids laughed. She was awful. Story 5. I experienced a lot of bullying because of my acne, which I started having issues with when I was 9 or 10. It caused me to develop a severe complex about my skin. Additionally, I was also bullied for simply existing. Children do not need a reason to mistreat one another. They create reasons to bring each other down. Story 6. I grew up near the beach. I have fair skin, which led to me being called Ghost Kid often. Eventually, I realized I couldn't change it, and it stopped bothering me as much. Story 7. I experienced bullying from others and participated in bullying myself. I was targeted for my parents' personal circumstances and our financial struggles. In turn, I bullied others to feel better about myself. I picked on those who had less money than us and those who wanted to express their true selves, labeling them as weird. The first time I saw a girl cry because of my actions in 7th grade made me realize I needed to change my behavior. Story 8. I had wavy curly hair in the late 90s. It was straight at my jawline but would curl up and out above my ears, kind of like a popular hairstyle from that time, while everyone else in my school had a different look. The derogatory term was thrown around a lot for some reason, despite me being straight. So I started to lean into it. If someone called me that name, I would blow them a kiss. The best instance occurred during a basketball game. My assignment was to guard the other team's power forward, who was much bigger and stronger than me. He commented, "Nice hair," while we were lined up for tip-off, which gave me a great idea on how to deal with him. The first time he tried to post me up, I began to moan just loud enough for him to hear, and he responded with disbelief just before attempting a spinning fadeaway. While we were running back up the court, I said, "If you keep doing that, you're going to make me post up." He shoved me to the floor, sending me skidding about 9 feet across it, resulting in a foul and a turnover. He didn't try to back me down for the rest of the game. He only faced me up. This worked to my advantage because our center was a foot taller than everyone else on the floor, so I guided him toward the center and shut him down. We still lost because their guard seemed to never miss, but I managed to shut down my assignment through my unexpected tactics. Story 9. I had an embarrassing incident in 4th grade during a test when the teacher did not allow us to talk or raise our hands. I faced bullying for much of elementary and middle school. To make matters worse, the teacher later reprimanded me and suggested I should have informed her that I needed to use the restroom. Story 10. Going bright red. I couldn't help it, and it wasn't helpful when it was pointed out. I already feel it. Thank you. Story 11. Talking with a lisp can be challenging. People often think it's acceptable to make jokes because of Mike Tyson, but every comment can be hurtful. Story 12. My family was poor. I was mocked daily for wearing hand-me-downs, for my mom's car making noise when it pulled up, for receiving free lunches, and for having worn-out shoes. Story 13. I was very skinny and often made the girls feel bad about themselves. They made fun of my flat chest and lack of curves, often saying that no guy would want me if I didn't meet their standards. This experience contributed to my low self-esteem. I am gaining weight slowly, and I am happy with how I look now. I have a boyfriend who adores me. Story 14. My teeth were affected by an accident when I was 6, which messed up my front tooth. I couldn't afford to go to the dentist, so I was called names like beaver, snaggletooth, and rat. Story 15. The way I looked was shaped by my upbringing in a predominantly white area as an Afro-Latina. I wasn't your average straight-haired, small-nosed girl. It didn't help that I had noticeable peach fuzz, and my mom would just put my hair in a ponytail with hair products that barely worked. I was such an awkward middle schooler. My stepdad was also a vice president of a major company and faced ridicule for being rich, which didn't last long after the breakup. Now I feel more confident and attractive than all my bullies, so I no longer hold any bitterness about it. Story 16. Wearing a beanie in the winter helped me avoid constant ear infections. If I didn't cover my ears, I experienced hearing loss due to those infections. My siblings and I were blamed for everything that happened in school because of our mother's religion. Adults were trying to subdue us, and none of us kids were ever proven to have done anything wrong. It's frustrating, and I still hold disdain for my teachers because of that. Story 17. I had thunder thighs and was overall covya. I hit puberty very early and looked quite different from other girls my age. I was teased for being overweight. Then, in 7th grade, all of a sudden, those bullies wanted my attention. Story 18. Most recently, it's about how I voted and being bullied for it. I can control this by not telling anyone, but then I also get bullied for not revealing who I voted for. Story 19. I was an unusual child and faced bullying for various reasons, including my appearance and undiagnosed ADHD. Growing up in the South, I encountered challenges that shaped my experiences. Story 20. My son has Tourette syndrome and was bullied severely. I pulled him out of school and now homeschool him. It has greatly improved his mental health. He is 16 and manages his homeschooling while working as a waitress. He does not experience bullying in real-life situations. Children can be very unkind. Story 21. Growing up, my parents were in a high-control religion that prohibited us from dating or spending time with any non-believers after school or on weekends. This resulted in my brother and me being bullied a lot in grade school. Story 22. I was often the only child of my race in class and even in my Girl Scout troop during the 1 year I participated. I was also neurodivergent, raised in a household of others with the same status, so masking never occurred to me. I was shy, and the bullying only made me more so over time. I wore thick glasses that I was terrified of breaking, which caused me to hang back during physical education. I had an unusual name, but that shouldn't have mattered in a school where everyone had unique names. My mother was a hoarder, including cats, which contributed to an unpleasant smell. I may have been the only child in elementary school born out of wedlock or the only one who was open about it. I developed breasts much earlier than the other girls, and they continued to grow. I found some friendship with other uniquely different kids. Essentially, I felt like I existed in a completely wrong manner. Story 23. I was born prettier than the average bear. I can go toe-to-toe against attractive girls with nothing more than a chapstick and maybe a beanie. I was also about 5 feet 4 inches tall until a few months into my junior year. I take every single shot there is for a joke or find humor at times. I suppose I should have stayed quiet. But then I reached California, started getting some buzz as one of the many highly ranked computer science players that competed locally, took an inappropriately long break from school to practice at local centers all day, grew a lot, and then returned as the one people just felt sorry for and no longer bullied. Story 24. You name it, I've been bullied for it as a kid and sometimes as an adult. However, the older I get, the less it tends to matter. Some of it was due to ignorance regarding how I was raised, I'm sure, but not all of it, and even then, it was beyond my control. Factors included skin color, age, size, everything from feet to breasts, weight, and height. The volume and depth of my voice, relationship status, grades, looks, what my mother did or did not pack in my lunch, my clothing, mental health, where I lived, what I lived in, what I was and was not allowed to do, what I could and could not do, and when my period started. Growing up was tough. To me, being bullied means anything that made me feel less than, ashamed, ridiculed, or experienced unwanted or negative physical interactions. Story 25. I have a flat chest, I am tall, and I have a deep voice. I was bullied for being male to female transgender throughout high school, even though I am a cisgender woman who just happened to lose the genetic lottery when it comes to breast size. My voice changed during middle school along with the boys. In my opinion, it is not that deep, but it is deep enough that I am often mistaken for a man on the phone. Story 26. I'm convinced someone took certification tests for my bully. She is quite ignorant and insecure, blames me for everything, and exhibits erratic behavior. I have no idea why she is still here. She drives everyone crazy. Story 27. People called me flat-chested when I was in school, mostly girls who I thought were my friends, and yes, a couple of guys too. It didn't happen again for years, and I rarely hear it anymore. However, a few years ago, while working as a busser at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, a large group of older, drunk, wealthy women came into the restaurant. While I was pouring water, they remarked right in front of me, "Wow, she's not even cute. She's flat-chested." I was wearing a sports bra under a white Oxford shirt, so I definitely looked androgynous except for my face. That annoyed me quite a bit, but not too much. Knowing they were probably bitter and that their husbands may not pay attention to them anymore offered me some comfort, as messed up as that is to say. I would never say a mean thing to someone about their appearance to their face, but when people come at me like that, it helps to think about their flaws and how miserable they must be inside. Though two wrongs don't make a right, so I keep it to myself. Story 28. Being myself, I was often the unusual, nerdy kid in school. I could pretend to be someone I'm not, but then I would be living a lie. Story 29. I was bullied for my last name, which I changed the day I got married. My dad was slightly offended when I quickly went to the Social Security office with my marriage license, and then off to the Department of Motor Vehicles. I was bullied for being skinny in high school, even though I ran cross-country and track and ate more than most grown men. I couldn't keep weight on. I injured my knee at 25, so I have no issues keeping weight on now. Story 30. My weight has been a challenge for me. I was too skinny for a long time and felt unable to change it. I experienced food insecurity at home, and stress did not help. As I approached my 30s, I started to gain weight, but I faced comments and criticism despite finally reaching a healthy weight. The shame of being skinny was difficult to cope with. Many comments from both kids and adults made me feel bad about myself as I grew older. I encourage my children to always offer compliments to others because you never know what someone may be sensitive about, not even with a simple joke. Story 31. I felt very dizzy in class and told my teacher that I needed to go to the nurse. A couple of boys started calling me dizzy from that day forward. I wish I had known how to stand up for myself back then. I was 13, and it continued until I graduated. Story 32. My voice is naturally deep for a woman. I was often called sir on the phone while growing up, and kids would mock me by speaking in low voices. Now, I work in radio and my voice is my source of income. Story 33. Being homeless and having only 2 uniform pants I could change into left a lasting memory. I clearly remember a girl asking me, "Why are you wearing the same pants every day? And why are they so ugly and bulky?" I felt terrified in middle school. Story 34. The way I walk is unusual. My body moves a lot. I have spent a lifetime trying to walk normally. I dislike having anyone behind me. Story 35. Ears, acne, and secondhand clothes. Not to worry, kids. Someday your bullies will feel bad for being unkind. It's a stage. I hope you can make it through. Story 36. How tall I was in the 4th grade for a girl. I was taller than everyone in my grade. I hit puberty early and then found out I had polycystic ovary syndrome. An honorable mention is my lazy eye. It is not constant, but everyone always pointed it out to me when they could, as if I didn't know. Story 37. For being attractive, I learned from an early age that when someone calls me a pretty boy, I know they have issues. I never take bullies seriously, so there's nothing to get angry about. Confidence is kryptonite to a bully. Therefore, the bullying I have experienced in life has always been short-lived. Story 38. Glasses have been a significant issue for me, leaving a permanent dent in the bridge of my nose due to people hitting the bill of my hats, which caused my glasses to slam into my nose. Regarding my teeth, my parents did not provide the best dental care, and I inherited some genetic issues that resulted in a malformed mouth. Even if I had received braces, my teeth would not have remained aligned. Story 39. Everyone used to tease me about having a big nose when I was a child. As an adult, I converted to Judaism, and occasionally when someone discovers that I am Jewish, they will stare at my nose and say, "Oh, I see it now." Story 40. I was always the odd kid who had body odor, which led to constant bullying throughout my school years. I struggled with it until my 11th grade year when I started working out regularly and using feminine soaps and African nectar oils to address the issue. By 12th grade, I had transformed and the bullying stopped. Suddenly, everyone wanted to be my friend. Since then, I've maintained a no-nonsense attitude and only have 2 real friends from school since 2011. Story 41. Crooked teeth. My dad couldn't afford to get me braces. I still have crooked teeth today, although no one comments about them anymore. Story 42. I was bullied by my parents for existing. Trust me, it wasn't my choice to be here, and I wish I could leave. I've tried. Story 43. I used to repeat things back to myself like I would tell a joke or contribute to a conversation with something I thought was funny. As soon as I would say it, I would whisper it again under my breath. I am now learning that this is a sign of autism, and I am beginning to believe I have been undiagnosed for 29 years, which would explain a lot. The other kids would ask me why I did that, and I really didn't have an answer. It was pretty much involuntary, and I was ashamed of it, so I became the quiet kid in school because I figured I wouldn't risk embarrassing myself if I didn't speak. It's gotten better over the years. I still do it from time to time, but it's not as bad as when I was a kid. Story 44. When I was in kindergarten, I had to wear a patch on one of my eyes to encourage the other eye to work harder. Older children on the playground would bully me because of it. Story 45. Even into adulthood, it's strangely socially acceptable to comment on someone's height. So I hear it all the time. It becomes quite annoying after a while. Do you genuinely think you're the first person to notice how short I am? Story 46. Autism has made me the target of jokes, but it has also made me oblivious. It is a blessing in disguise. I don't even realize it until they come back later in life to apologize, and I just look at them like, "What are you talking about?" Story 47. Being poor is difficult. I feel so bad for my mom. She tried hard but could barely provide for us. I never had any money and wore the same clothes day after day. Story 48. Having Asperger's, my 6th and 7th grade teacher disliked me from the start and treated me as if I were a special needs student. I was not allowed to sit with my friends and was relegated to a designated area for special needs students. I was routinely excluded from class activities and field trips. Anytime I even remotely stepped out of line, I faced disproportionate punishment. In 6th grade, I made a cross-eyed face in the year-end class photo. I was removed from class, threatened with lawsuits, and falsely informed that parents were furious and requesting refunds. He then spread lies about me to the entire class, claiming I was deranged and incapable of controlling myself, which set the stage for the rumors that followed me in high school. I struggled with alcoholism at age 13 and ultimately dropped out of high school during my senior year due to depression. I later bounced back and graduated a year later, but the damage had already been done. It has been over 20 years, and I still feel unable to move on from how people were allowed to treat me. I remember some other troubling things he said or did to other students that I didn't think much about at the time. He frequently gossiped about former students in front of the class. My older best friend was falsely accused of vandalizing the school, and I knew for a fact he did not do it. Story 49. My nearly blind lazy eye caused me a lot of trouble in school. I was picked on and bullied throughout my childhood. I actually trained it to stay straight in my mid-teens, and by the age of 20, no one could even notice it. Story 50. How tall I am? I am 5 feet 11 inches tall. My eyebrows being caterpillars, they are very thick, and my lips being called full lips because they are quite prominent. I was called that all through middle school. Story 51. The most painful experience was being bullied because my mother was born without the lower half of her right arm. She used to volunteer at the school, so everyone knew her. However, as we grew older, some kids became cruel and used it against me. One particularly obnoxious incident occurred while I was sitting in class doing my work. A boy 2 seats behind me called my attention just to make fun of my mom's arm. I replied, "At least my mom is not unkind." He reported me to the teacher, and I got in trouble for using inappropriate language. Story 52. Being the son of the school principal, I look exactly like him. Bullies were practically running the school before my dad took over. Guess who they took their frustrations out on? All of them. Story 53. Freckles, height, last name. I wish I could go back in time and tell my younger self that everything will be fine. People will one day see you for who you are and become your friends. Story 54. Having a larger chest can be challenging. I remember in middle school when a girl yelled, "Next time you stuff your bra, don't use the whole roll." So, in the locker room during physical education, I made sure she saw that I was not stuffing my bra. It definitely made her stop talking. Story 55. My last name. Ignorant individuals do not understand that it was a completely different word than what they would use as an insult. Story 56. My height. I think bullied is a bit strong, but I faced a lot of negativity for being short throughout school. I am now 6 feet tall. Story 57. My hand-me-down clothes that I wore to school affected my self-esteem. I was concerned about my appearance, including my ears, height, and figure. Story 58. Nothing in the end. I would have told you differently at the time, of course, but ultimately it came down to my behavior. Coming to my senses about that was unpleasant. But things improved dramatically once I truly understood and started taking action. Story 59. Being a girl with hirsutism, middle and high school were challenging. The school administration never took action to address it. They couldn't suspend the cheerleaders because they needed them at the school's football games. Story 60. Wearing clothing from various brands that my parents bought for me. You have a Nike shirt and Reebok shoes. Story 61. A child in the McDonald's ball pit called me an elf because of my ears. He was not the only one over the years, but I specifically remember that boy. Story 62. My hair. As a child, my hair was bright red, and I was constantly mocked for it. I hated it for a long time, but now that it is losing color, I miss it. I like my hair. I wanted to like my hair as a child. Story 63. A vandalized backpack left me with a demeaning message during my freshman year of high school, making it difficult for me to make friends. My parents found it amusing and refused to clean it or buy me a new one. Instead, they spent all their money on Disney collectibles, Halloween decorations, and celebrity memorabilia. Story 64. The autism. The amusing part is that your peers often know before you do. Story 65. Freckles and big ears. I was called Freckleface, Dumbo, and Howdy Doody. It was tough being a young girl in elementary school. Story 66. Being alive. As the youngest of 3 in a private school, we couldn't afford many name-brand items since our school didn't have uniforms. I used to work in retail at a nice store where customers would buy polo shirts and khakis for school uniforms. People often preferred name-brand items over those from discount stores. Story 67. My sister was bullied for her ears. She has very little cartilage in her ears, which gives them an inward elf-like appearance, and she absolutely hated wearing her hair down because of it. Story 68. I was 6 feet 1 inch tall and weighed 140 pounds, with red hair and acne. I was the new kid in school with no friends. I almost didn't make it. If it weren't for learning how to fight and developing thick skin, I'm confident I would have taken my own life. Bullying someone with red hair still seems acceptable in society, but I am an adult now. Fortunately, I have a good psychologist. Story 69. I used to get bullied by my younger cousins and siblings for my acne. I always told them that when they became teenagers, they would have it too. They are teenagers now, and what do they have? Acne. Karma is a bit ironic. Story 70. Having a naturally large body shape, I wasn't overweight. This girl used to bully me and tell everyone I had an unattractive physique. Story 71. My weight and blemishes are things I was born with. Imagine being teased and treated like an alien because of things you couldn't control. It's a different type of pain. Life is unfair. Story 72. My ears stuck out, which made me incredibly self-conscious. I never wore my hair up and was determined to get my ears pinned back when I turned 18. After I left high school and entered the real world, I noticed many people whose ears stuck out more than mine. It isn't a concern for me anymore, and I wear my hair up all the time now. Story 73. I was the only girl in a house full of boys. I didn't get bullied for that reason. Bullies are cowards. They avoid anyone who is not afraid of them. Story 74. Acne. Possibly autism. One of my children was diagnosed later in his teens, and the interesting thing is we bond well because we are so alike in many ways. His personality and interests resonate with me, making perfect sense in my own world. It's a nice bubble to share. Story 75. My last name was often made fun of. I was the tallest student in school until high school. Story 76. I didn't see it then, but I see it now. I had two happily married parents. I was naive to the divorce culture and how it affected children. I was bullied for having a mom who volunteered at school, for wearing clean clothes, and for bringing homemade lunches. The kid who tortured me ended up in juvenile detention during high school, then went to prison after graduation. I later heard he was killed before our 20-year reunion. He had a group of friends who were very mean to me. Story 77. My lazy eye is a really expensive medical fix that costs more than my life right now, with or without insurance. Even if I had the surgery to correct it, there might be some drawbacks affecting my vision that would also incur extra costs. It's not worth trying to get the money for it, and I've come to accept it as a part of me. Additionally, I am unsure if I can even drive with a lazy eye, and I know it would be a mental hurdle to obtain a driver's license. For the time being, I trust my own legs and rideshare services or the city bus to get me where I need to go. Story 78. Not necessarily bullied, but I faced many challenges for being the only Asian child in a high school of over 1,000 students in the Bronx, New York. After my freshman year, my family moved to New Jersey. Once again, I was the only Asian child in school, but I no longer had to constantly check my surroundings in fear of objects being thrown at me every 10 minutes. Story 79. They called me Little Chinese Girl, because when I smiled, my eyes squinted. But I learned how to stand up for myself, and most people left me alone after a while. Story 80. Everyone called me Big Booty Judy. My butt has always been naturally large, and I was bullied for it. Additionally, my height made me taller than most girls my age, which led to further teasing. Story 81. I don't know for sure. I kept to myself but became a target for bullying in middle school. I was in elementary school with the same kids, and I'm unsure what changed. Story 82. My facial hair has been a concern for me since I was 14 years old due to polycystic ovary syndrome, and I faced significant bullying because of it. Story 83. Wearing glasses. It was so bad that I forgot my glasses at home when I was at school and forgot them at school when I was at home. My eyesight was so poor that I couldn't see the chalkboard sitting in the front row of desks. It reached a point where the teacher informed my mother because I wasn't able to complete any schoolwork. I don't exactly remember, but I think I accidentally threw my glasses in the trash. Story 84. Growing up, my glasses were a significant part of my life. I have severe nearsightedness and holes in my retinas. As a result, I am not eligible for laser eye surgery, and there are no contact lenses that are suitable for me. Therefore, I wear glasses with very thick lenses. Story 85. I have a scar on my belly. Weirdly, it flattened out as I got older, but I will never get over that one boy calling me pregnant lady. Story 86. My belly. People would joke about me being pregnant. It's just a kind of baby fat that became adult fat. I'm just built like this. Story 87. My autism helped me try to understand the world as well. I just understood it a little differently. Story 88. The size of my head is not round. It is long and narrow. It's something I had to grow into as I got older and faced bullying about it until high school. I refused to put my hair in a ponytail until I was almost 17 because I was terrified people would notice the shape of my head. Now at almost 27, I feel confident and it's not really a problem anymore. Story 89. Snaggletooth. Good old metal slide back in the day. The dentist who performed a root canal on me when I was 6 did not concern me much, as I only heard from them when they wanted to cause me pain and had run out of relevant things to say. I got braces and then bridge work when I was 17. Yes, it made me feel better. Story 90. Being biracial, I was in single digits when I was called racial slurs I had never heard and learned what they meant as a teenager. I was referred to with unusual slurs by kids my age and some of their older siblings. Story 91. Psoriasis resembles a constant rash that never heals. I experienced relentless bullying because of it, and sometimes still do, despite it being largely related to my genetics. Medications help, but stress exacerbates the condition. Story 92. I was never bullied because I stood up for myself and did not become a victim. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.